So my Overland Rack Ontario bed rack came today. Well, I guess finally the rest of it came today. I got the first box, a small one, top there, about 3 days ago, and this is Monday. It came along. The shipping hasn't been flawless by any means. It took me about a month to get both boxes, which Sean at ORO said it's not the norm. So I can't really comment on that. I do know it took longer than I expected. It took about a month for me to get all of the components. If you have a similar experience or you have a better experience than that, maybe leave a comment for others to see. So all the parts of the rack came in two boxes. One box contained bolts, as well as the uprights, accessory brackets, some stickers. The other box has load bars, accessory panels, and then some cross members between the load bars. I don't see any stickers in there, but there could be. What you'll need to put this together, according to their instructions, which the boxes don't come with, they are online. I would say a torque wrench would be handy. We have a 9/16 wrench, some thread locker you'll need, ratchets, and then you'll need some sockets and some Allen keys. You'll need a 5/32 M5 Allen key. You'll need a 9/16 socket and a 7/16 socket, according to their instructions. So I'm going to get started putting this together. I am going to use the help of the impact wrench. I'm not going to go tight with them, but at least get take care of some of the threading of the bolts. I got some accessories for my sockets here that I'll be using. So the first thing you need to do is attach these brackets to the side of each upright. These are going to be the brackets to hold the accessory panels. So in the instructions online, they did it in reverse. They put the nut on the other side and the Allen key hole on the inside of the upright. I did it opposite because I was I'm going to use an impact wrench to install those, just to speed my progress up a little bit. And of course you can't install that unless you have a right angle attachment for your drill or your impact wrench. So they go on pretty easily. I'm leaving them loose because I don't know exactly where I want to position the accessory panels. And as you see, they're slotted, so you can slide them up and down. So I'm going to decide that. I'm probably going to leave them tight so that if they fall, they can't fall any, but I'll decide that later. Now that I have all of the accessory panel brackets attached to the uprights, it's time to attach the uprights to these load bars like I did here. And it's quite ingenious. The load bars are just extruded aluminum, very heavy extruded aluminum. I was very impressed with the quality of this. You're going to use the T-slot in the side, and you're going to slide in these T-nuts. Of course, they got a ball bearing in the bottom. The pro tip in the instruction says to install these first, and I do recommend that. So you slide it in there. And the reason it is, you can put these in the slot after the effect, but it takes a little finesse. You need to put something small in the bolt hole and then sort of pry it out flat. And it is much easier just to slide them in when you don't have the upright on the end. The nice thing about this is that there are those slots in the top and bottom as well. So all kinds of ways to attach accessories to this using those. They do offer T-nuts through their website. I think it's $5 for two, including a bolt. You can buy them on Amazon. I don't know. I haven't really been able to find any that are stainless steel. There's lots of zinc coated ones, so I don't know how corrosion free those would be, but you can definitely get them on there because these ones are for an M8 bolt, and I have some accessories I want to attach that the M8 is too big, so I want to use an M5, and so I'm going to try to find some T-nuts that have the opening for a T5. All right. So let's see, I'll put the rest of those on and hopefully they turn out like this. And I put them on loose. It tells you to put them on loose because you need to put thread locker on later, which is no problem. So you actually tighten them tight once you install this on the truck, and you add thread locker onto each of the bolts. All right. Here's my first tip for sliding these T-nuts into the slot. It does kind of matter. And here's why. If you notice that the bolt hole is not in the center. So if you slide them in there so that the bolt hole is at the far end of each. So if you look here, that bolt hole is on the far end. Now I slide that next one in behind it, so in the opposite, they'll hit each other, and they'll be too far apart to line up perfectly with the bolt holes on the upright. So my tip is slide them in so that the ball bearing on the bottom goes in last when you slide it in, and do the same for both of them. That way, not only is it easier to slide them in, but the bolt holes will be close enough to line up to the upright. Okay, both uprights are to the cross members or the load bars. Yes, I'm doing this in my living room. It's pretty cold out today here in Nova Scotia. It's only about 3 degrees out, so I didn't want to do it on my deck. There's my 13-year-old lab supervising. And so now we're going to go on to the next part. I should mention here too that these load bars to the uprights have not been tightened down. They're loose fitted. You're not going to want to tighten them down to you put the rack on the bed of the truck. So that at that point you'll actually take out each of the bolts holding the uprights to the load bars, add thread locker, and then replace them. That way you can get a perfect fit to your bed. The step I'm going to do next, according to the instructions, is to install these nice looking accessory panels with the ORO logo there with the flame. Nicely done. Very heavy steel, well painted. So I'm going to apply those next. Of course, that's what we put these accessory brackets on the uprights for. And again, those are just loose fitted because I didn't know exactly what height I wanted. I am putting a tonneau cover on my truck, and I wanted to have enough room underneath the accessory panel to stick my hand to roll it back. So that's what I'm sort of adjusting right now. And I will show you the install of that tonneau cover at a later date. All right, I'm going to now attempt to put on those accessory panels using the included carriage bolts. One accessory panel attached, and here's my second pro tip. Make sure that the logo is facing upright before you completely bolt it on. Don't be a dumbass like me. Bolt everything on, take a look at it, and notice that the logo is upside down. So that's not really a pro tip. That's just making sure you check everything before tightening. All right. Okay, I just want to show you this. This is the accessory panel, and I have decided to leave that bolt right there at the very top part. I could move it up, but if you see that's a sliding channel, I'm skeptical of that not vibrating back down anyhow and sliding back down. So that's how I'm going to install them, even though it doesn't give me a lot of room underneath the accessory panel to reach under to move my tonneau cover. I think that's probably best. I can't see with, off-road, the vibrations that eventually slipping. So I am going to put it there, and same idea here. It's in the very top of the slot. The other thing I want to show you is around front here, what I'm doing. I wanted my accessory panels as flush to the uprights as possible. So I am using a metal rule, and I lay it against there and bring it forward so that it's even all the way across before I tighten down that accessory rack. So that's how I'm doing that. I'm just thinking, if I had some kind of accessory clamp here, a quick fist or something here, and the other one was here, I wouldn't want them to be off a little bit, so I wanted it to be as straight across as possible. So I'm just using a metal rule to do that, and that's totally up to you. That's a preference thing. And again, you can move this as much as you want. I just feel that eventually that would just slide down. If I move this up, the rack up a little higher and bolted it, it would just vibrate back down eventually anyhow. So I'm going to leave it like that. Okay, both accessory panels are attached. Now is this final 2 bars that go across the supports. So across the load bars are these 2, and they're quite easy. Again, uses a T-slot nut. Now, I should have put those in ahead of time, but to be honest, they weren't that hard to put in there. They drop in the slot, and then I just used the end of this knife here to stick in the hole for the bolt, and just propped it, and it snapped right into place. So if you're a dumbass like I am and forget to do that as well, they are easy to put in, so don't worry too much about it. So there it is in there, and I put those in after the fact, after my uprights were put on, so it's not that difficult. They do need to be square, and I haven't done that yet, and I'll use a square to do that. And I'm going to keep them way to the side here because I am going to be putting a rooftop tent across the support bars, and I don't want these being in the way of the supports for the rooftop tent. So I'm not going to tighten those down, and of course they need Loctite as well. A couple things that in the end here, even though it's all assembled, just not on the truck yet, that I didn't realize when I was putting all the bolts on. I thought the washers were all the same size, the small washers, and in fact they were not. I was lucky because I did get most of the ones on for those bolts, but obviously either they sent me the wrong size because I have two left over, or I used them on one of the smaller bolts and didn't realize it. So need one more smaller washer, because this is the really big ones that you would use for attaching it to the truck. So for these bolts here, and I'm missing it, so I need one for an M8 bolt. And the other thing, which I'm really surprised, well, I'm not overly surprised, I guess I probably shouldn't have been using the impact wrench. I snapped one of the carriage bolts for the accessory panels, and they don't look to be the grazed metal. They look pretty white. I'm hoping that's not the case. I have to say the M8s, which are the structural bolts more so, they look very robust, but this one did snap. It may be my fault. Maybe I shouldn't have been using an impact wrench. I'm sure someone in the comments will tell me that. Lesson learned. So I need to get a carriage bolt to finish the install on one of the accessory panels. And also a lock nut to go with it, so I couldn't get the lock nut off the broken piece. So that's it. The next video will be me installing it on the truck, but I'm going to wait a day or so until I'm ready to install the tonneau cover, because the tonneau cover is what holds this in place. So I'll do a video of that as well.